Hi, welcome to Love Life Faith. Yeah, so I'm really sorry I haven't done a video in a bit, in exactly 1 year. I think the last video I did was about a year ago when I talked about how to achieve your New Year resolutions in the year 2018. And now 2019 is upon us. Like the way time flies, it's not even funny. But I'm happy to see you guys. I'm hoping that today's video will help you forgive me for my long hiatus. Is it hiatus? I hope I got the word correctly. But for my long leave of absence, a lot has happened this year. So that's the reason why. But yeah, so today's video, I want to talk to you about some of the major lessons I learned in the year 2018. I'm going to be as frank and as, what's the word, normal as possible with you guys. So if you don't like frank and normal, just subscribe then run away. But don't run away before subscribing. Deal? Good. So let me start from 2017. 2017 was a very, very interesting year for me because that was the year I quit my job. I went into ministry full time, as a ministry as in speaking and writing, and then I launched my first really big book. It was my second book, but it was my first really big book, Self as a Bible Girls. And I traveled. I traveled in 2017. I really traveled. I kind of missed those days because now I have a new baby, so I don't travel as much, but I really traveled. In fact, there were times when we lived in Lagos, Nigeria at that time. There were times when I would have speaking engagements like almost every Saturday. So one of the things I look forward to at the end of every year is our end of the year program at church. It's called Reboot Camp or Christ Celebration Convocation. And on the last day of that camp, don't worry, I'm going somewhere, I promise. I just want to give you guys the whole gist. So on the last day of that camp, my pastor, stroke husband, usually lays hands on everybody. And many times he gives a lot of prophecies. And I've had people who, a lot of us, you look back at your year and you're like, oh, it was what pastor prophesied concerning me. So I was really looking forward to what pastor was going to say when he prophesied in 2017 December when he laid hands on me. I'm a very spiritual person, I don't hide it. And he said something when he laid hands on me. He said 2017 was a dauntless year. 2018 will be an even more dauntless year. And I'm happy I'm sharing this with you guys now because my husband was here when I was shooting this, when I was about to start shooting this, but I pursued him because I didn't want him to be here, so that I will not be shy, so I will gist you people very well. So he said 2017 was a dauntless year, 2018 will be an even more dauntless year. And if you know me, know that the word dauntless is a very important word for me because I host a conference called the Dauntless Conference. And 2017 was the first year I hosted that conference. Don't worry, I'm going somewhere, I promise. I really promise you guys. And so when you said this would be a more dauntless year, I was like, maybe instead of having national speaking engagements, I'll start having like international speaking engagements. Maybe instead of just publishing one book, I'll publish maybe 3 or 2. I did publish 2 this year. But I was like, as in more dauntless. I'm open, my heart is ready. Thank you, Jesus. And then a week later, I realized 2 life-altering things. First of all, a week later, I realized that I was pregnant with my second baby. So I'm like, this is really, really dauntless. And then I also realized that we are leaving everything we knew in Lagos to come to Abuja to start a new work. So we had been pastoring the Lagos church for like 5 years. And then suddenly, December, like 2 weeks at the end of the year, we knew that we were going to move 2 weeks later, that's first week in January, to Abuja to start a church. So we started publicity, I think, for the Abuja church December 18, 2017. And we were supposed to move there January 3rd and have our first service, I think that same January 3rd. I hope I'm getting the dates correct. And I was also pregnant. So that was how I entered the year 2019. You know how you know that God wants to do something with you and you don't really, you have an idea of how you think it's going to play out. You're like, God, I know you have something big planned and it's going to go this exact way, work out like this, like this, like this. And then suddenly, everything just turns out to be the opposite of how you planned it. But because I had such a fulfilling year in 2017 going in my relationship with God, I wasn't really bothered. I was like, okay, if that's what God will have us do, let's do it. It was different from what I thought was going to happen, but I knew that God had big plans for me and my family, and that those big plans may not always look like what I had in mind, but I was willing and open And that was how I began the year 2018. I'm saying this because for a number of us, we don't like things not going according to our plan. Like you have a way, like, last year 1 book, this year 3 books. Last year, I only spoke in 10 places in Lagos, this year 20 places. And God changes that plan you thought you had in mind. I want you to learn to be open with that. You know, in 2017 also, I had written a book, Selfies with Bible Girls, where I talked about 22 female Bible characters and lessons you can learn from them. But as I entered into 2018, I was pointed to another woman who I didn't even talk about in Selfies with Bible Girls. And I don't really know her first name, but her name was Lot's wife. Something interesting happened. I think it was in Genesis 29. God had told Lot and his family that he was going to deliver them from Sodom and Gomorrah. And he had told them, okay, don't look back. Don't look back. When these angels deliver you, don't look back. But you trust women now. It's not easy changing your life. Like, before we came to Abuja, we had just changed house. Like, we changed house, I think, we changed our apartment, I think, was it August or September. So we're just settling into the new place. It was a really beautiful place, at least much better than where we were staying before. And then 3 months later, God is asking us to move. And you're like, what about all the interior decor we had done? Like, my husband is an interior person. He likes all those kind of things. Me, I don't really care much. But I had a big kitchen. Before, my kitchen was just one small cubicle. But now, I was in a house that the kitchen was really cool, with big parlor and 3 rooms. Yeah, I used to live in a 2-bed before. And then moved to, and it was a central location. Like, before we moved to that new house. Oh, I told you guys that this is going to be unscripted. So, enjoy the gist, listen to the gist. Don't worry, it's all going to add up. So, before we moved to that new house, if you want to come and visit me, you have to be calling me at different stages in the journey. So you say, I'm here. And I say, okay, tell Bike you're going to this place. Tell them you're going to Babs Arebe, down. Don't tell them ordinary Babs Arebe. Tell them down. Because it's the address was very confusing. But when we moved to this new house, I would just give people my address, and with or without calling me, because it was a central place, they would just show up. And I was like, cool. Like, we're in a central location. I was even driving more. And then suddenly, we're asked to move. And so I want you to figure out something very, very important here. Don't just let your life be focused on your plan, what you want to do. Sometimes God is going to take you out of your comfort zone. It's going to take you away from what you thought he was going to use to bless you. It's going to take you away from your own definition of more dauntless, like he did for me. And it's going to take you to somewhere new. And so you must learn to define success not based on the world's parameters, but based on obeying with an open heart what God will have you do. It may turn out to be successful in the eyes of people. It may not. But what's important, what success really is doing first and foremost what God will have you do. It's easy to say, Lord, I want to do your will, when you already know what that will is. When you know, okay, this is what he has in mind, I'm going to follow through. But a genuine test of faith is when you don't even really know how everything is going to go, but you're still willing to follow. And so I learned, very importantly, not to be like Lot's wife, not to think, so that my house is gone now, and I couldn't pack all my jewelry. Oh my God, what about my friends and my relationships and all the people that were planning to invite me? What about them? And focus on, Lord, what would you have me do? And what does success in this new terrain mean to you? And so that's one major lesson I learned in this year. Just about following God blindly. And in some ways, it did pay off, because the kind of growth we saw as a ministry in 1 year was nothing. It was like what we had worked on in Lagos for like 5 years, and we saw it in Abuja for 1 year. And it got some level of attention. People said, oh wow, how come? And it was successful in the eyes of people. But I think for us, it was always successful when we decided that we're going to follow God and do what he will have us do. And I remember my husband saying, even if we're just 50 people that we get to pastor when we come to Abuja, we're still successful, because this is what God will have us do. And thankfully, from the very first service, it was not just 50 people. But even if it was just 50 people, it would have still been awesome. And so I want you to learn in this new year to focus on what God will have you do. Some of you, you're going to look back at your life and say, see what this person was able to accomplish. And because of social media, you don't have to try hard to compare yourself with other people. There were times when the temptation was there to say, see what this person was able to accomplish because they were in this place at this particular time. And I'm like, this is what God will have me do. And so God told me at the beginning of the year that, okay, this year for you is going to be a year of working more in church ministry, and it's going to be a year of building your family. And coming to Abuja did a lot of things for me. It helped my marriage grow. I don't think my marriage has grown within the last, because we're married 4 years, within the last 3 years, I don't think we've grown as close as we have in this 4th year. So it helped my marriage grow. It helped me have more time for my family, right? And then I did write 2 books eventually, so that also helped. And then I met a church family that was more or less prepared for us. So I got to really know members of our new church family. I got to build stronger relationships, stronger mentorship relationships, stronger friendships. And then even the basic things, like God actually gave us a nicer apartment than the one. Imagine if I was just carrying that one on my head. And then God gave us a nicer apartment. So I was like, oh, this is really cool. And a bigger kitchen, because it's like twice the other kitchen. Yeah, and gave us a nicer apartment, and you won't believe. In fact, today I was saying I was going to share with you guys about how in the place we now stay, we always have power. And as I was just thinking about it, it occurred to me that they might now decide to show themselves and not bring light when I'm shooting the video. And truly, now we are using Gen, but believe me, we always have power. And so I just want you to have an open heart to make sure that you define success and you define meeting your goals by simply doing what God will have you do. Sometimes it may be flamboyant to the eyes of other people. Sometimes it may just be ordinary. And that's okay. As long as you know this is what God will have me do it with an open heart. And just trust God. Trust God. Things will not work exactly how you expect them to work out. But they will. They will work out the way God wants them to work out. And His plans for you are better than your plans for yourself. This year, for example, 2018, we eventually didn't even hold that Dauntless conference that was in my prophecy. Like, the word Dauntless, it was a Dauntless year, but there was no Dauntless conference. Because I had to move and I was heavily pregnant and couldn't travel at the time we would have held it. But it's going to hold 2019. And I think the lessons I've learned in this year have even made me more dauntless. So just have an open heart and be more interested in doing what God will have you do. I think I'm going to stop there. Yeah. So enjoy. Make sure you subscribe. Okay, bye.